Eisenhorn has been something we've been talking to Games Workshop about now for over a year, and we are so excited to be talking to them. Warhammer 40k is a gothic fantasy science fiction tabletop game, and from that they have created video games. They have reached a large audience, but they've not made a television drama up to now, and so this is something new for them to venture into. And who better to come along and explore such a big world and find the human elements within that.
Yeah, and I love science fiction because it's always about something. You know, there's always a reason you're telling that story. There are ideas at play that make you think, and those are my favorite kinds of stories. The ones that are entertaining and emotional, but after it's over, they leave you with something. You feel like it's a nutritious meal. You know, you leave with glad you saw it. You spent your time that way. And the challenge with Warhammer 40k is that, as Emily said, it's such a rich, fully developed world. There's a massive fan base that knows it and loves it already. And you must honor them, and you must show that you understand the DNA of this property, and that you're going to deliver on that, while also reaching an audience that knows nothing about it. You've got to serve both masters. And it's such a big world. The first challenge for us was sort of like, how do we begin? What's our point of entry into this? Because it is literally the entire universe. And I think we found it through this character of Eisenhorn, who's what they call an inquisitor, which is essentially sort of a space detective, but with vast, awesome powers to try and preserve order and defeat chaos in the universe. Growing up, one of my absolute favorite television shows was Star Trek. And so to me, this feels like a 21st century next iteration of Star Trek. It is not Star Trek, but it plays on a lot of the same themes and has a lot of the same advantages of a world like Star Trek, because it's a metaphor for a lot of things that are going on today.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. So that was Frank Spotnitz and Emily Feller talking about the upcoming Warhammer 40,000 TV show Eisenhorn. It still sounds strange to me to mention Eisenhorn and TV show in the same sentence. It's an absolutely fantastic time to be a 40k fan at the moment, with all this awesome content that will be coming out. For those of you who are new to the hobby and you really don't know what Eisenhorn is an Inquisitor. It's based on a book series written by Dan Abnett. In my opinion, it's probably one of the greatest series of literature dedicated to the 40,000 IP. It follows Eisenhorn as he goes on his investigations that deal deep into some Chaos heresies. There's Xenos stuff in there. There's fantastic stuff. If you've got the time to go and read it, because it will completely blow your mind. I loved hearing Frank talking about honouring the fans and stuff like that, and that was really, really cool for him to say, because when you look at Warhammer 40,000, we as fans, we know what it is, don't we? We know about the Grim Darkness, we know about the horrors, the Space Marines, the Imperial Guard, the Eldar, the Chaos Gods, everything that goes with it. We know what that's all about, but the average Joe off the street doesn't know what that really is. So trying to explain that story and get them gripped into the story and, you know, helping them along. Because if you pulled someone off the street and started talking about the Emperor, Slanesh, the Chaos Gods, the Tau, the Eldar, they'd probably look at you like a madman, because there's just so much information, there's so much lore, there's so much grim darkness to explain. So coming to that roadhead, let's say, of jumping in and showing it off, I really do think they've picked a fantastic character to do that, because Eisenhorn, the story attached to Eisenhorn, he visits all the certain areas. You know, he sees the Chaos stuff, he sees the Xenos stuff. I don't really want to go too into it because it could be massive book spoilers, and I don't really want to ruin it for people that are potentially still reading it or haven't read the books yet. But I really do agree with him when he says Eisenhorn is probably one of these characters who could show that off as one of the best potentials in the 40k IP. Plus, when you have the material that Dan Abnett wrote with the series, if they're basing it off the series, surely, you know, the TV show will venture away from the books in some kind of sense, because all TV shows tend to do that, you know, because certain aspects work in books and certain aspects don't work in TV. But if they stick to the main story plots that Dan written out with the Eisenhorn series, then I'm sure they're going to be on to a winner, because as I stated, it is one of the fantastic stories in 40k. Probably one of my favourite stories in the entire Warhammer 40,000 IPs. It is mind-blowingly awesome. If anything, it's just nice to hear more about the Eisenhorn TV show. We haven't really heard that much news about it. I was kind of getting worried, are they still going along with this? Is it still happening? But Frank has been talking about it, and yeah, I'm grateful. I'm really, really happy that, you know, it's still ongoing, and hopefully very, very soon we should hopefully start seeing maybe some like production stuff, maybe like main characters who have been picked. On the subject of characters, how about this legend? Now, this is Rufus Sewell, and he was actually in another series which Frank produced, if I'm not mistaken. He did produce it. A Man in the High Castle, it was called. And I actually think that this guy would probably make one absolutely badass Eisenhorn. He's worked with Frank before. It could make sense. He has that British accent. That actual overhaul coat he's got on there, actually he's wearing in The Man in the High Castle, is kind of like the uniform that Eisenhorn actually wears. And I think, I don't know, he just suits it perfect. This potentially, for me, would be like an absolutely amazing young Eisenhorn. Maybe then we can go like to Mark Strong when he starts to get older and they, you know, venture down that kind of route, because Eisenhorn does age throughout the novels. Alright, chaperoonios, that is me done for another video. Thank you for coming, thank you for watching. I thought I'd share this with you because this is literally the first time I've heard Frank talk about this, and I'm super, super excited. I'm really excited now. Hopefully, like I said before, we'll be seeing more. If you want to watch the full interview, like the full interview goes into some of his other shows and stuff, but I just mainly showed off the 40k stuff they talked about. It's over on C21 Media. I'll put the link in the description, and you can just go and watch the entirety of the interview down there, and yeah, listen to it for yourself. Right, thank you for coming, thank you for watching. As always, leave your thoughts, feedback in the comment section, and we'll talk about it down there as we always do. See you now, have a great night, and bye-bye.